You are officially in the loop. You are now officially in the loop. Let's get to it. Okay, guys, welcome back to In the Loop podcast. We are here today. We're celebrating the week of Women's Rodeo, the WRWC 2025. It's hot and heavy. The women are at Fort Worth. But today we are reflecting, going down a little bit different path and talking about the Pam Minick Lifetime Achievement Award recipient for 2025. And I am so excited to welcome Miss Billie Bray to the In the Loop podcast. Thanks for joining us today.
Well, thank you. It's quite an honor. The title is an honor, and the person that it was named after is even a bigger honor. So, yeah, really appreciate that.
And I have to tell a little backstory about this because B and I call her B. A lot of us in the industry do. We're
Yeah.
very close, very good friends, and she's a huge part of everything I do, but also one of my sponsors. And so I was given the little insight secret that, hey, B is going to be the recipient of this award, and I was like, oh, great. I'm also terrible at lying and or keeping secrets, and so just like I got told that day, and it wasn't like 20 minutes later, she called me and I'm like, oh my gosh, she knows. I can't talk to her. I can't be on the phone with her. And so I was so rude. I answered the phone on very short, very like stoic, and which I never am to be. And I'm like, okay, I'll call you later. Bye. And so I had to tell her the other day, hey, that's why I was so rude to you, because I knew you won this award and I didn't want to let the cat out of the bag.
Yeah. Yeah. They called me. They had a podcast, or I guess they had a group call when we were going to visit about the Women's Rodeo World Championships and what was going on. And Pam was on the call. And I was like, wow, that's kind of weird. That's kind of cool. Pam's on the call. I thought it was just going to be Sammy Joe and Lindsay. And then everybody's on the call. And it was like, okay, what are we going to talk about? Because we're sponsoring the event. I thought we were going to talk about the event, and yeah, and then they whipped that on me. So yeah, it was quite a surprise, actually. Was not
Well, it
expecting that. That wasn't on my radar. I can actually say that. They were all laughing at me. I was like, just didn't even see that coming. So
yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's very rare that you don't see stuff coming because you are so involved in the industry. When receiving this honor personally to you, I know that it's a bittersweet thing because there's so much, you're so involved in the industry, but personally, I know it's a huge honor to you. How do you know that, getting this award, receiving this award, knowing that it celebrates a lifetime of women in rodeo, cowgirl, Western sports, when you first got that call, what did it personally mean to you to know, like, hey, they picked me?
Oh, it was just at first it was a shock because I wasn't thinking. To be honest, just don't think about yourself. I mean, you're always thinking about the event or what you're going to be getting ready for or what the questions are. And I think the first part of it is that was sort of it was a personal take. It's they are honoring or including me in a lifetime achievement award. And then Pam is it's titled after Pam, and it's a real honor because Pam has done so much for our Western industry. She's a close friend. She's been through a lot personally, and I just have a lot of respect for Pam and what she's done for all of us. And I think that was a huge honor being connected with Pam. I think the title of course, is an honor, but really, I do have a lot of admiration, a lot of respect, a lot of I just really appreciate Pam and all that she's done in our industry, always looking the part, always being a leader, always taking care of everybody, always organizing everybody, always making the events better. I don't care if it's the Justin Crisis in Vegas or if it's on TV. She's always there showing, leading, guiding, directing how we should be in the Western industry. And to be honest, it's quite intimidating because she sets the bar really high. That's what I'll say.
Yeah.
Honored but intimidated. I would say the two emotions would be that.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, honored obviously is, I got to do a day in the life of a cowgirl, and they're like, if you could be in anybody's cowgirl boots, who would it be? And I'm like, Pam Minick,
Yeah, for
and
sure.
and so she's impacted so many generations in this industry. It's phenomenal. But also the intimidation is let's step up and be there. Like, can you step up
Yeah.
and do what she's done and continue to do that and challenge yourself and in all different facets, and it's pretty neat. But you and Pam, your relationship goes back. I have to give a little tidbit too, is the Windy Ryon Memorial is something that's prevalent here in the Fort Worth area, Saginaw, Texas. You never know whether you're going to be sweating, getting rained on, your rope's going to be hitting you in the face because the wind is
Yeah.
literally blowing in your face. One of the best ropings everybody looks forward to each and every year. You and Pam actually walked away with that team roping title in 2007. Talk me through that
That's a
moment.
long time
As
ago.
it was a long time ago, but I will say I was a 2009 champ. I remember you guys winning it in 2007. Doesn't seem that long ago, but talk about that win and how you guys have gotten to celebrate not just within the industry as friends, as we're here talking about Women's Rodeo Week and all the opportunities. You guys won that title in 2007. What do you remember most about that day?
Um, wow, that's a long time back. What I remember most is that, the women's team roping has changed a lot. Back in the day of women's team roping, the Windy Ryon, the US finals or the Wildfire, those were the biggest all-girl ropings that we all went to. And it was kind of a time where we all, as women, roped, and it was just us, and they were big events with added money, and everybody showed up, and, 200 or 300 teams, and it was just a really big deal. And I think that the honor for really Pam and myself is that we were full-time jobs. Not to say it to some of you younger girls, but we were full-time jobs and being able to compete. I think the fun part about actually winning was being able to compete and still hold on a full-time day job. And the roping industry, women's rodeo, has sure changed a lot, because now I think it's evolved into where the women can rope full time and are successful and can make a living, which, like yourself and a lot of others, I think at that time that wasn't even really an opportunity. We had the women that could run barrels professionally. We had a few fraternity horse trainers that trained professionally. But as far as women went in roping, at that time it was a big deal. And today it is completely a career, it's a profession. It's changed a lot, a lot. But at that day, it was great. It's always great to get to win in the team roping, and it's hard to win in the team roping, even whenever, whatever year it is, it's hard to win. But it was always a great honor with Pam, because Pam was a personal friend. She is very easy to be with, easy to compete with, easy to be a partner with. She's one of those people that you just really enjoy and appreciate, and it was a great win that day.
Yeah. And it is so neat to see, and live in that part of it as well, and now experiencing this part in this season of women in rodeo. It has changed drastically, but how neat to see that the opportunities that we have now. We're talking about, this week getting to rope at $800,000 as women in
Oh
rodeo.
my gosh.
Phenomenal opportunity, just to say that number out loud. But, talking about that evolution of women in rodeo, you and Pam both have been such an instrumental part of that. And to know, you know, the WRWC has opportunities for women that are, like you said, professional, like that's what you do as a career. But then, just like yourself, when you had a full-time job, you're also a mom of two amazing boys that you probably didn't think were amazing at that time, but you got them there.
No.
I'm just kidding. But you're a full-time mom, you have a full-time job, you're working 8 to 5, you make it a priority to practice team rope, show up at the rope-ins, and still come out on top when it was a fierce battle. The WRWC also provides opportunities for women that are still in that season of life or have chosen that path of life. They
Yeah.
also provide opportunities for the people that are, we had Miss Cricket on our podcast the other day. She's like, hey, I'm a little over close to 40, not there yet, but I want to be a breakaway roper. So I'm going at it. I'm going to try the limited part. And so literally they've given avenues to every piece and every part of women that want to be a part of rodeo. You've been a huge part of that. Why did you have such a mission and a vision to be involved in this journey from where you started to where we're at now?
Well, part of the WCRA, and then that led into the Women's Rodeo World Championships. Really, actually, Bobby called me and asked me some questions about this idea plan that they were going to do for women in rodeo. And I remember, I think it was in the fall, and I was at, I want to say I was at the Snaffle Bit, and had to get on a call with those guys, and they were like, we're going to bring, you know, money and create this women's rodeo world championships for the women. And he kind of told me all about it. And he told me that each one of the categories, breakaway, head, heel, and barrel racing, was going to pay 60,000 each. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Honestly, I was so in shock that they would. I was like, oh my gosh, that's just such an honor. It's always, I think Pam has always pushed with, producing all of the events outside of the Windy Ryon. But, back in the day, she was always the one that kind of was the leader in the WPRA, trying to get these jackpots better, trying to get them to become rodeos. And I think that there was a lot of work there. And I think that, as we got busier and older, that kind of faded. And then the sport has actually, changed a lot. It's been growing. The youth has been really, really strong. And then PBR and WCRA kind of come up with this idea and gave me a call and asked me. And I think a lot of that was, I have a lot of respect for the PBR and what they do. I don't think they do anything in marketing, TV, or anything without knowing the numbers of why they should do it. And so I think when they made that phone call, I thought that it was really an honor for women, but they don't do that because they didn't do their due diligence and understanding who the demographics were, who the customer was, the viewers that they needed, how they needed to complement the PBR. I think that it was really I think it was really an honor and exciting that they were looking into the demographics like that. When you look at break or barrels and breakaway, I know the numbers because I live in them, but from junior high to high school to college, that's the top two events all the way through, and even to pro rodeo. And they were kind of the first ones to really come to the table and offer a full, payout to all of the divisions for the first time. And again, I just say it was a real honor for them to look at the numbers, the data, and bring together the Women's Rodeo World Championships.
Well, and you have, I think as I'm sitting here listening, you're like, yeah, they wanted me on the call. Like, there's so many people in our industry. And I think for me, that's why we all have so much respect for you, that want you in on the conversation. They want your input, because not only, are you huge in the industry with your business that you and your husband had businesses, several businesses. You're also, like you said, you're a numbers girl, and you are very factual. And it's like, some of us dreamers, we have this big idea and we run with all these dreams. And then I come to you, I'm like, all right, B, this is and you're like, well, what are the numbers? And I'm like, I don't know what the numbers are. Like, you figure out the numbers. But it is. And it's such an awesome balance. But it's so cool to see that so many people want you in on this conversation, and the conversations of evolving women in rodeo and all the different things we're doing. You've always been a huge supporter of the classifications, especially with the challenger, and all of, there's so many things that make all the pieces to the boat come to the table. How do you see this changing in the future of women in rodeo, from our conversations at the first to like, hey, we have this idea, we want to do this event, we want to pay 60,000, to, like you said, all the different pieces, from the youth to the collegiate to the women in rodeo to the challenger to limited, all the different parts and pieces of this. How do you see this changing in the future for women in rodeo?
I think them adding the challenger is going to be most important to the growth of Women's Rodeo World Championships. You have to have it. The majority of your membership is always going to be in the challenger, in the limited. Your smallest group of membership will be the open always. It's the way it is in team roping, reining, cutting, cow horse barrel racing, all across the board. Your open is only 10 to 15%, and your majority masses are the challengers, the intermediates, the number fives and below. That is our customer, that is our database. And the fact that they created levels, the guys with Women's Rodeo World Championship created the levels of limited, challenger, and open. It just allows it to have the growth that it needs. You can't go from a limited and go compete in the open, and really it's hard for a challenger to go from a challenger and just right to the open. So what it does, it allows you to learn how to compete, win some money, keep in the division that you're in, being breakaway, barrels, team roping, move up to challenger, win money, get different partners, compete more, learn how to compete, and then allows you to move up to the open. Just like all the rest of our sports, which I come from USGRC, so 85% of our database was a number 5 and below. So that was basically our core customer. And of course, we had the open, and the open is what everybody aspired to be, but there's only a small percentage that can be in the open. So I think it's huge important for growth. That kind of completes the circle. They had to do that.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, as you're talking like the stages, I think that that's one of the things that I was most thankful for, that we didn't have near the opportunity when I was coming up. But, even Breakweird Open, like I started out going to the Ultimate Calf Opens a lot and utilizing that platform. And I got my butt kicked there. And then I won a little bit there. And then I started going to the amateur rodeos again, got my butt kicked there, then figured out how to win. Like you said, you figure out how to compete and you move your way up to those different levels. And I think that that's huge. But yet still the WRWC is giving the women the opportunity to win big money on those platforms, which is not something that we've seen from anybody else. And so I think that for me as a competitor is most crucial, but knowing, like you said, at the end of the day, you still have to take the steps and you still have to, aspire to be there in whichever season of life you're in, whatever the journey is and all the things. So it's pretty critical. And I'm glad that they have that opportunity as well. And, we're fixing to run it at AT&T for a lot of money. There's going to be 3 pros, 3 challengers, and 1 limited person that gets a chance for the 60,000 at the end of the day. I don't know any other association that does that. So
no, I don't either. It's huge.
That's
huge.
Those
those divisions also, that challenger and that limited also brings in your youth. So they really, really do a good job of allowing that to the kids, the older, all of the divisions get to come in and compete for huge amount of money, but also big platforms, huge experiences, Fort Worth and AT&T Stadium. I mean, it is amazing. Honestly, it's just amazing to get to have that kind of an opportunity. I really appreciate all of them considering and bringing in and doing it, because it's a huge undertaking.
Yeah. Let's pivot just a little bit here and get more on the personal side of it, which I know you love. You're so looking forward to this. You've wore so many hats and you continue to wear so many hats. You're a wife, you're a mom, you're a competitor. You're one of the leaders in the marketing industry within the equine Western industry. What drives you every day to keep showing up for the sport of rodeo and women year after year?
What drives? I just think that I like my job. I like the industry. I think that, yes, we work in the industry, but I think we're also very fortunate that we get to have God first, patriotic. We can be patriotic. We can bring our families in it. It's Western industry, it's culture, it's horses. I think that we're just really lucky that all of those get to be in what we do every day. And our family was raised in, we brought the boys up in rodeo, junior high to high school to college, pro rodeo. It's part of our life. It's what we do. It's what we like to do. I don't know that it's something that drives me. I just think it is just what we do. It's our life. That's all we know. We do get to work in the industry. Yes, we do get to manufacture in the industry. We get to go to events. We get to do some really fun things along with our day job, but really it is our culture. It's what we like. We like God, family, patriotism. We like Western industry. We like cowboy. We like John Wayne. We like everything to be kind of back to the cowboy way of life, really. If you be honest, I would really like it to get more back to the culture of cowboy. I think we kind of get away with it with all of the, no offense, the social and all the stuff. Sometimes I think we kind of get away from our culture of kitchen table and family.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And talking about kitchen table and family, that's something that is very important to you and a lot of the behind the scenes that people don't see, but it's something I feel like you bring forward to the table in everything that you do and continue to do. You are one of the most, in my eyes, one of the accolades in women in just the industry. Pam, as we talk about, she's been a trailblazer, a leader. You have as well. You've just done it more behind the scenes and kind of sneaky. What are some of the things that you've learned along the way as trying to be an advocate for people, for women in this marketplace, but balancing your role as a leader, a competitor, one of the things Pam Minick has told me one time, I said, how, as being a woman in a man's world, how did you go about this? How did you do this? And she said, I never even thought I was a woman or a man. I just walked in there and sat down at the table like I belonged there. And I feel like you've done a lot of that the same. Talk about your history in being in the positions that you've been in and working with men through this industry. How have you gone about being a woman at the table?
It is a man's world, and I think everybody's got to get over it.
Right.
It is. There's no doubt about it, and I'm okay with that. And I think you have to just respect the fact that you should have a man of the house, and there is going to be a lot of men that are leaders, and it is the way it is. I'm going to kind of have to go with Pam on that one. I don't know that I've really noticed that myself. To me, they're no different. Actually, I think sometimes men are easier to work with and visit with and get things done with, and sometimes a lot of women with power, to be honest. I've never really looked at it that way. I treat everybody kind of the same, man or woman, and I am not intimidated, I guess you could say, by men or men's world. I never have been. It's just walk in and you are who you are. I'm very comfortable with that, and I really appreciate conversations with any of them. It's not intimidating to me. I don't really look at it like that. I feel like I'm there for my reasons and they're there for their reasons. And hopefully we can do good business together, because good business is good for both. I don't care if you are a guy or girl. Good business is good for both. And sometimes you guys got to, I think a lot of women, you got to be careful what you wish for. Some of those positions I don't think you really want.
Are you sure you want to be in control?
It's okay. Let them have it. Those are hard places to sit. You look at Sean Gleason's and some of those guys' chairs where they have to sit. I'm like, I wouldn't want those chairs personally. I mean, those are tough chairs to sit in. It is a man's world. Big deal. I think if you come with facts and you act professional and you treat them with respect, they're going to treat you with respect. I don't think it is an issue. I've never really had an issue in that way, because I've always been kind of raised a lot different. I did come from a ranch. I did come from working with men. I do work with men at work. I do have a boss, and he is a guy. It's just the way it is. I think that I don't look at it like that. I know that a lot do, but I don't. And I don't think that anybody else really should. It's just part of what we've got to do for the day and where we live and who we have to work with. And most of the time they are in charge. Yeah. I'm okay with it. Some of that stuff I don't want to do anyway, but I think that you can get a lot of your ideas in, or, projects that you're wanting to get accomplished. There's ways of getting that done. And you probably are going to have to go through a guy to do it. It's okay. You just got to figure out how to communicate with them and get it done. At the end of the day, you just got to make it their idea. And it's up to us to create good conversation and have good business. That's our job. And we should leave there on good terms and be successful. That's up to us. The opportunity is there for us. It's up to us to go do that.
Yeah, I love that perspective. The opportunity is there for us. And we've seen you live that day in and day out. Pam as well. She's an advocate for that too. So two of the same cloth. As you're moving forward and continuing to grow in this industry, what advice do you give women that are balancing big dreams? They have a family, career, and they love the sport of rodeo. What advice would you give to them?
Run. I think everybody's looking for the magic of how to balance. I don't know that the how to balance is ever accomplished. You have kids and you think, well, they're going to get a little older, it's going to get easier, and they're going to get a little older, and that's going to get easier, and they're going to get a driver's license, and that's going to get easier, and they're going to graduate, and it's going to get easier. But honestly, it's a balancing act all the way through. It's never not going to be a balancing act, and I think you have to kind of appreciate the balancing act. I think it's something that I don't know that anybody will ever accomplish as being a perfect balancing act. Honestly, I live close to Jackie and Charlie, and I watch Jackie, and I'm just amazed of, all the things that she has going on, and balancing that. I come back home and I'm like, whoo, That's a lot. That's really a lot. So honestly, I have it pretty good. I don't really compete at this time. But I compete at work. I guess my feeling of I love to compete. I don't like to lose at anything, and so I think that that's my drive is being competitive in the workplace, being competitive with products and branding, and that is my drive. I like to do that, and then I do really believe in family. I really do believe in man of the house. I believe in kitchen table, and I do believe in conversations at the kitchen table. I think that that is something that is easy to get away from because you're so busy, but I think it is extremely important to have, the few 20 minutes, 30 minutes of conversation with a family. I think it's extremely important. I think it is really a pain. I'm sitting here saying this, but I don't dream about cooking. I don't, but I do think that the part that kitchen table really is about is sitting down as a family with no phones and just visiting. And I think that that's probably the best part of the end of the day of just having the contact with your family.
I love that. And I think too that, implementing, like you said, if you implement that 20 minutes a day, having that contact, because that is your foundation. That is where you come
Mhm.
from. That is your roots. And you've got to start somewhere. And so that's a great place to start. And although I too, don't dream about cooking, I do have a lot of cookbooks I'm trying to learn and not poison my husband along the way. So that's been a fun journey. The Pam Minick Lifetime Achievement Award, awesome accomplishment, awesome recipient. What are you looking forward to now that you're on this awesome honoree and a part of this, to giving back to the future Pam Minick Lifetime Achievement Award recipients?
I don't know if I think of myself in doing any major changes. I hope I get to do what I have been doing. I hope that we get to keep pushing forward, whether it be in women's rodeo world championships, or if it's in high school rodeo, or team roping or barrel racing or whatever. I hope that we just, me personally, we just get to keep pushing forward to making it better. And I like it, making it better for all. I mean, if it's, I think the rope horse futurity is a fun, exciting thing coming up. I think money and youth is exciting. I think that Taylor Sheridan and the wave of impact he's made in the performance horse industry is exciting. I think all of it is. And I think just getting to be a part of it is an honor. And I think that I don't know that there's going to be major changes in what I do. I'm just fortunate enough that I hope I get to keep doing the same thing.
Yeah, I love that. All right, one final question. If you had to go back and tell your younger self one thing, what would that be and why?
Well, my younger self probably wouldn't have listened, is what I'm going to guess. I'm probably pretty hard-headed. All of the mistakes that I've made, they were hard ones, and I think that that was a good thing. I'm going to be appreciative of the hard mistakes that I made, because those are the ones that you learn the most from, and those are the ones that make you change. And I don't know that I would change anything, because I think you have to go through some of those hard knocks to be where you're at today.
Yeah, I love that. And I agree with that totally. I think that, like you said, I have never really heard anybody say it, but it's honest truth. Like, would your younger self listen? And I think a lot of us hard-headed women would have been like, yeah, no, absolutely not. I'm not listening to you.
I wouldn't have. I know I wouldn't have, because I had to run off and make all the mistakes. I mean, literally the hard way. So I could lie, but I'm not very good at that either. So I know I wouldn't have listened, because I'm sure somebody told me that I shouldn't have done it, and I did it anyway. And I still make the same mistake. So it's I do learn from them. I'm getting better, but I do think you have to make them. That's kind of part of how you get humbled, and it's just part of life. But I think those are good lessons in life that you want to learn from.
Yeah, 100%. Congratulations, Ms. Billie Bray, Pam Minick, 2025 Lifetime Achievement Award recipient. Can't wait to see you walk away with that award and hear what you have to say up on stage. And thank you for all that you do for the sport and women in rodeo and everybody in this industry. We appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. It was really an honor, and appreciate the visit.
Thank you, ma'am.